Hey everybody, welcome back to Alum House Sound. I'm Dave, and today we're going to talk about using outboard effects on your X32. All right, so welcome to Alum House Sound. We talk a lot on here about mixing consoles and helping you learn how to do the ins and outs, the intricate routing that can be done in this X32, the M32 platform, and hopefully this year we'll be expanding into some other consoles as well. But for right now, we're focused a lot on the X32, and today specifically, we're going to talk about using outboard effects in your console and in your mixing. So the console itself has 8 effects racks, 4 of them designed initially to be insert effects, and 4 designed to be outboard effects, even though they're built in. But you have a bus that sends, and then you have a stereo return, and that's a lot like what we would experience with outboard gear as well. So if you're not familiar with what's in the console, I'll link a video up here that you can watch after this one. I'll also put it in the description so that you don't have to go hunting for it. But that will talk about the difference between insert and outboard effects, things like that. Now, today, what we're going to do is take an example. I've had a couple people recently that have asked for using this. This is maybe not common in your live environment, but in a studio environment, a lot of people like to utilize this tool, this concept of an outboard effect. Maybe it's a reverb or a delay or something else. Who knows what you want to use? But you can send a signal out of the console, and then we're going to bring it back into the console, either on a mono or a stereo input. So let's talk for a second about the tools that we're going to be using today. So I don't have true outboard gear, but I do have a nice ME70 guitar multi-effects pedal. And so I'm going to be using this. You can see here that I've got the green and black cable as my input, and then I have the black and red as my left and right output. So I am going to be running a stereo out from this guitar pedal back into the console for this example. If you were running maybe just a regular mono guitar pedal, whether it's a delay or a chorus or even a distortion pedal, if you wanted to put some grit on your vocals, that is an option, and you would only end up using one auxiliary input coming back into the console. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, so if you look at the back of the console here, you can see where I have one microphone plugged into channel 32, and that's just for this example. And then all the way over here, we have the important connections. You can see aux out on the board is aux out 1, and then auxiliary in is input 1 and 2. So that's aux in 1 and 2. All of this is done with 1/4-inch cables, 1/4-inch mono cables to be specific. And we're going to be plugging these right into the board, right into our pedals, or in your case, maybe an outboard effect rack. So that's a little bit of the setup and where connections are plugging in. We'll talk through this a little bit more. Let's go ahead and dive into the console. We'll look at these 2 examples and we'll see at the end. All right, so option number 1 is going to use input 32 here. This is where my microphone is going to come in. And then we will go directly from input 32, and we'll come over here and use aux 1 and 2 as our returns into the board. Now, option number 2 is going to end up using bus 1, and it will return into aux 1 and 2 as well. So let's go ahead and cover option 1, and then we'll go to option 2. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the screen here, do our routing. And so we're going to start out by going to the routing screen, and then we will page over to the aux tab. So on the aux tab, what we have is an option here for aux out 1, and we've got an ability to source that. So we can take a couple different things and send it out auxiliary 1. So I'm going to come down here and go to direct out. Now, direct out, we can pick our direct out channels, which is 1 through 32. So this is all of our channels. So I'm going to select direct out 32. And now I have some tap options. So if you want to send a signal that's raw, you could choose in low cut plus M, or you've got some options here, maybe pre-EQ. You can go post-EQ. For me, I'm going to choose pre-fader for this example. But you could also do post-fader as well if you wanted it to do that. But for this example, I'm going to do pre-fader. And so we've made that selection there, so that is locked in. What that's going to allow us to do automatically is right now our signal is going to come in from our microphone on channel 32, and it's immediately going to also go out aux out 1 on the back of the board. Okay, so now what we're left with here is we've got an individual input channel here, which is channel 32, and this is coming through my mains. I've got the ability to and unmute it, but if I turn it down, the mains. Now this is my raw track here, but over on the auxiliary side here on the third layer, I do have, you can see some signal coming in here on 1 and 2. And that signal is going to be a reverb sound. So if I bring these up, now what you're going to hear is that reverb sound coming in as well. Obviously, it's got some various different things you can hear. You could have different effects. If I come back here now, because we've set this up as pre-fader, as a send out of the auxiliary, I could actually turn this down and just be left with only the reverb. I can bring this up. I could come over to the auxiliaries and move these down to taste. Now, if I do something crazy here, I'm going to turn this down a little bit, and if I hit this, now I've got a delay. Okay. So you can see that I've got this delay in here. This is just an effect. Obviously, it's running outboard gear, and I can bring it up to taste. Turn that off. It's still going. Still trailing there, but we've got the reverb and we've got the raw signal. So you've got a couple different options here of how you can do this, but the routing is set up and in place for you to make some decisions and use the auxiliary outs and ins in a much better spot. All right, so now let's take a peek at option 2. So option 2 is going to have a similar result, but it's going to give us the ability to mix more than just one input into this effect. So similar to how we have the onboard effects here, these purple ones, this is bus 13, 14, 15, 16. We're going to use a bus. So I have bus 9 here, which I have selected, and what I'm going to do is just hit sends on fader. And again, for this example, I'm just going to bring up here my channel 32, but you could bring up any of your input channels into this. Obviously make sure that they are in fact unmuted, and then you're going to get your mix that goes into your mix bus. So now you have one fader with multiple inputs going into this in some sort of a mix. We need to route this out aux 1 so that it sends into your effect, and it'll come back in the same way option 1 did. So let's take a look at that routing. So here with our bus example, this is option number 2. What we're going to do is do the same thing. We'll come up to routing, and we will mouse over to the aux screen. Now this one is going to look real similar, but instead of choosing the direct out, we're just going to choose mix bus. So we've selected mix bus, and then we can come down and find our mix bus 9. And we again have the options of pre-fader or post-fader for the tap point. And in this example, I'm going to go ahead and do post-fader, just because that gives me the ability to have control with that one kind of main bus fader. If I turn that bus fader down, up or down, it will impact the amount of signal going into the effect and therefore the amount coming back. Now with this setup on the bus, it will work the exact same in terms of your auxiliary 1 and 2 being your returns, stereo return. If you're just doing a mono, like a mono delay, you could get by with just using one aux in. If you're using maybe a guitar pedal that's mono in, mono out. But if you do want stereo signal, you can use both Auxin 1 and Auxin 2. The other recommended thing is to go ahead and link these. So if you select Auxin 1, you can come to the home screen and hit the link button and confirm, and now your faders will move concurrently together. So you don't have to move them both independently. But that hopefully gives you a couple options to use with using outboard auxiliary effects. All right, so that's just a quick look at 2 examples of how you can use this, whether you're going right from the input channel or maybe you're using a bus like the console already has designed. You just want a little extra outboard gear to support your mixing. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Come back, we're putting videos out all the time. There's a significant backlog of videos, and if you've got questions, put them in the comment section below. I'm always answering questions. I'm happy to help people out. If you do want any consulting, I do offer that as an option. You can go to this website here, which is my website, and fill out the contact card. We'll start a conversation across email that way and get you set up with a time that we can meet one-on-one. But that's it for this one. We will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.